Happy Thursday and welcome to Pero Comma Podcast with Collette and myself, Liz. Okay, sorry guys. So today we're going to be reviewing our favorite August read.
Yeah.
Collette, would you like to start off with yours, love?
Of course I would. Here she is.
Love
Here
it.
she is.
Love it.
Bound by Gravity by Jenny Hickman. I don't want to give spoilers, but there might be spoilers, so I just want you to be prepared in case you want to read this book. So this is about Lady Alette. Well, she goes by Alette. And Sean, again, y'all. It's like a Gaelic name, and I believe that's from Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. And it's spelled Senan, I guess Senan, but that doesn't sound right to me. So I call him Sean. No disrespect. If you're from that community, please let me know how to say it. But right now, his name's Sean. That's what we're going with. So he is a prince. Sean is a prince. And Alette is, even though she's a lady, she's like at the bottom totem pole of being a lady. She's not nowhere near Baroness, Duchess, none of that. You're just a lady. Okay? That means you're like one step out of the hood. Okay? That's what
you're hood adjacent. She's hood adjacent.
Right. Okay. They meet. The first time they meet, she thinks he's a jerk, and she's like, "Leave me alone." And he was like, "Oh my God, no one's ever talked to me that way. Do you know who I am?" She was like, "I know you are a prince. Nobody cares. Get out my face." And he was just so turned on by that because he's like, "Oh my God, are you checking me?" Like, he's all for it. And so they build a friendship. He would go see her every Tuesday. That was their day. That was the only day he didn't have, like, I don't want to say classes because he's an adult by the time they meet. They're both adults. Because she's on the marriage market. She's like 21, I want to say.
Okay.
And he's like 23. I know they're 2 years apart, but they're still like young in their adult life. And they meet every Tuesday. That's when he doesn't have to do like, I don't know, whatever princes have to do. Learn about the government. Shit, I don't know. Anyway. That's his free day. So they always meet. They start a friendship, and then eventually grows into love. She messed herself up because you're supposed to save yourself for marriage, but she gave it to him because she's in love. He's not even messing with anyone else. That's how devoted he is to her, and he's a prince, so he can get it.
Yeah. Well,
and
it sounds like Dorian.
Sound like who?
Dorian.
Yes.
Because he's a playboy until
Dorian, everybody knows Dorian is the love of my life.
He's from the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas.
Yes. So they have this festival every year. I want to say it's called the Samhain Festival, where every year the veil between the human world and the fairy world is very thin, so you can pass through. So a lot of fairies will go. And so they were like, okay, let's go together. Actually, no, scratch that. Sorry. She has a friend. One of her friends is a servant, but that's her Ace Boon Coon. She's human, though.
Ace Boon Coon.
Yeah, Ace Boon Coon, but she's human. So she has to fly her through the veil. Now, it's illegal to carry anyone via flight because they don't want other people helping. The humans are at the bottom. You're not supposed to be helping them. And even if you are a fairy and you're carrying another fairy, if they're hurt, figure it out. You cannot carry them. It is illegal. They will execute you. So she was like, look, nobody will know. Let's just go do the Samhain and, we'll come back before time. Just put on the cloak. She's like, okay, cool. Well, she had told Sean, hey, we're going to go. Of course, he can't go to stuff like that because He's the prince. But he meets up with her anyway. He was like, I heard you was going somewhere. So he figures out her friend is a human. They go through the veil. They're having fun. As soon as they make it through, there is a what do you call it? A guard that comes through, and he was like, you little shit. You know, I have to watch you. Now you're going to put me in trouble because you went through the veil. You're not supposed to go through the veil. He was like, give us 5 hours. We'll be back. I'll give you whatever they pay you for the month. I'll double it. He was like, 5 hours. Come on. Guard is about his money. I can respect it. So they go through, they're having fun. And by they, I mean the prince and Alette, because the guard is stoic the whole time. He don't like nobody. Don't look at him. Don't talk to him. Don't touch him. No, I don't want nothing to drink. No, I don't want to eat your little American, I say American, but your little human food. None of that. He don't like nobody. Okay? He's just a mean man. And so they're having fun. And then he was like, Alette, let me take you dancing. So he goes off and there's like a big crowd or whatever. And then he drops down and he's like, change, I brought you clothes. And they change it to different clothes and they run off. His whole plan the whole time was to run off with her. He was like, if the veil closes, you can't come get me. And me and Alette can live happily ever after. Right? I know. He had a plan. Okay. And so they do a bond. Like a
ritual.
I don't know what they call it. Yeah. But it's like it makes you their mate. But you have to agree to it. So they have a superstition. They say that if you do it and the stars haven't ordained it, you'll have nothing but bad luck.
Ooh.
They make love. She wakes up. She's like, it's super cold. Where is he at? He's gone. The sun is rising. Remember, when the sun comes up, you can't go through the veil. She walks out. She's trying to find him. She can't find her little friend that she came with, the human, because she can't fly through the veil. So she needs someone to fly her back.
Okay.
To find out, yeah. She is walking through the woods. She finds her body. They killed her. She finds the prince's cloak covered in blood. He is gone. And then the guard comes and he was like, I've been looking for you. But before the guard comes, there's like these people, they're like, I told you fairies are real. Cut off her wings and see if we can get money for it. And they cut her wings off.
Collette.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, I cried. I was like, no, she can't go back. Cut her wings off. They try to SA her. That's when the guard comes. He saves her from that. But the wings don't grow back or anything. So she's just, now she can't fly anymore. That she's done. The sun comes up. So now the fairy is stuck. The guard and her, they're stuck. They can't go back through. And the prince is gone. They don't know where he is. He told her that the prince was dead. He said, I found him. I know he's dead. And then your friend is dead too. So I came to get you to go back. But the sun had already risen by then because the people were attacking her. So he had to fight. And then, so they're stuck in a human realm. Again, once a year, you guys. So they can't make it back.
Okay.
So they have to wait a year. So she had to get a job. She's a lady. She doesn't really know how to do anything. So she had to learn how to cook and clean and make a living. He ends up getting a job as a guard at one of their prisons in the human world. And every year, they would go and wait by the little entrance of the fairy portal. And they did that for 4 years. And every year they would go and no one came through. And she was like, it has to be because the prince died. So they must have shut it down. Because no one would come through. They would sit there and wait the entire night. Yeah. Now, as I'm saying this, it doesn't occur to me to ask, why didn't he fly up and go? I don't know. Didn't even occur to me. Because he has his wings. I don't know. Oh, because it's illegal to carry people. That's why. Duh. That makes sense. I just had to think about it. My bad. I'm back. Anyways, they wait every year for 4 years. So in the 4th year, by then they form a relationship. They're now in a relationship because they know the truth. They don't want to expose too much to the humans. They don't know a lot. He loves her, loves her, but she can't get over Sean. And then plus
Okay.
they have that mated bond thing that they have. So she's in depression, like bad. So bad.
Understandably.
To the point where she loses her job. She just can't let it go. So she dyes her hair because her hair is blue. Because again, she's a fairy. So she dyes her hair black. And so she goes into the market one night. He leaves. He was like, hey, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. I have to go take a prisoner somewhere. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. You know, I'm going to have the neighbor come stay with you so you're not by yourself. She's like, okay. And he was like, I love you. And she's like, okay, bye. Yeah, like he does a lot for her. He makes sure she's eaten. He takes care of the house. He wants to marry her. He is in love. That is the love of his life. Love that girl. She can't let go. She goes into the town to go buy dye for her hair so she can dye it black. And when she goes into the town, the guy is like, there's like all these masks and stuff for the festival. She was like, why are you still selling masks? The festival was last night. He was like, no, the festival was tonight. She was like, no, it was last night. He was like, no, it's tonight. So she's like, whoa, did he get the dates wrong? So she goes, buys her dye. She leaves. She goes, sits out. She was like, if I leave, you know, I can't, if I leave him, I'm going to leave. Like, he'll be stuck here for a year. It's not, I don't have wings. I can't come back and get him and be like, hey, you know. So she's like, well, if I go, I'm going to go see if I can get help, come back and get him. Because he's been there with me for the last 4 years. I can't just leave him
taking care of her and all that.
Right. And so she goes and she waits. And one of the first fairy come through and she's like, hey, I got gold. Can you take me up? He was like, you know it's illegal. If you're a fairy, you would know it's illegal. She was like, I know that, but my wings are gone. Can you please carry me through the veil? I'll pay you. He was like, fine, show me the gold. Takes the money. Carries her through. The first thing she sees as she comes back in is a guy getting thrown out of one of the pubs. They call them dusters.
Okay.
It's the prince. Yeah. It's the prince. Oh. And she recognizes him and she's like, no. Boy said he dead. You can't be here. And then he looks up and he says, Alette. And then she's gone because there's like a throng of people and there's like, oh my God, it's the prince. Let's touch him. I don't know. Anyways, she's gone. She's swept away. He can't get to her. They take him home. But he's like hardcore on drugs. Like
that's so sad.
Can't go without. Yeah. He was in depression over her. He started taking drugs because he just couldn't let it go. Again, they have the bond. So he couldn't let it go. She couldn't let it go. Eventually she tries to go back to her aunt's house. Her aunt has already passed in the 4 years that she's been there. So the house went back to the crown and the crown gave it to somebody else. So she doesn't have a home to go back to. She now needs to find a job. She ends up still having some gold from the human realm. They're like, well, this is not fairy money. She's like, it's gold. Melt it down, bitch. Give me a room. And that's exactly what they did. They gave her a room. She has to find a job. She ends up working in like this textile mill. She can't get a hold of the prince because she can't go to the castle. They'd already told. She tried to go to the castle. They were like, girl, everybody say they know the prince. And the prince would say, let me in. We're not letting you in here. We don't know you. Go away. So eventually they come out. They were like, hey, we're offering jobs in the castle. We need maids, scullery maids, all that type of stuff. So she runs, she gets a job. She makes it through their background check.
Daddy. Yeah.
Call it. And gets in there. She sees the prince, and the prince is engaged. So in her mind, she's like, "Oh my God, he forgot about me."
I mean,
no.
I think in anybody's mind.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no, he's a prince, but I get it.
He has to.
Yeah, so I get it. So she's basically devastated, but she's like, I can't go back to working at a textile mill because they ain't paying me. But if you work at the castle, you can live at the castle. You're on the bottom level, but at least you still have a place to leave. You have food to eat. You're safe for the most part.
Yeah.
So she makes a friendship with other people. They, she's basically living, but she's always they always, because of the bond, they're always meeting up. Like they're always drawn, but they can't tell why they're drawn to one another. She knows it's the prince, but the maids and stuff, they have to cover their face, so they wear a veil. He doesn't know who it is. She knows it's him. Yeah. And then eventually he's like, take the veil off. And so she takes off the veil, but she still has the black hair. Remember, her hair was blue, so that's how he knows her, is she has blue hair. And she was like, and then when he snatches the veil off of her face, she immediately drops her head, but she has the black hair. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were someone else. Your voice sounds just like her. Your mannerisms are just like her. Because like she'll go like this when she's nervous, and he remembers that. So whenever he would talk to her, she would be like this because she's nervous, because she's like, what if he knows it's me and he's, you know, he's like, you gotta go or try to kill me or whatever. So he's like, you have the same mannerisms. Like the fact that he knew all of that should let you know he's clearly not forgotten you. You know what I mean? Right? So he was like, I guess you're not her. And he walks off. And she picks up the stuff. She dropped like dishes or whatever. She picks up the stuff. She goes back into the kitchen to help clean and do her job or whatever. The other maids are like, hey, we're going to go to the club. I'm going to call it a club because that's what it is. It was music and liquor. So they go to the club. The prince is there. She's dancing, right? You know how the club is. They come behind you and dance because that's what men do. Your little sneaky little selves. But you know, if you're with your friend is supposed to be like, is he cute or not? But no one says anything. So she's dancing and he's all up on her or whatever. And she was like, in her mind, she's thinking, oh my God, he feels just like Sean. And Sean was like, Alette? And she was like, yeah. And then she realizes it's the prince. And he was like, what? I thought you were dead. What do you mean? So he pulls her into this like, what do you call it? I don't know, like a section off place. But if you're in the section off place, that's where they go to hunch.
Oh.
Right. But he's just trying to get privacy because he's like, I thought you were dead. So once he finds out she's alive, you know, he's like, I don't want to marry the princess. I don't give a care about the princess. I want to be with you. And she was like, no. I've been in the human realm for 4 years. You never came back and looked for me. And he was like, I went back the next day, the next year. What are you talking about? He was like, I went back the next year. I searched for you. You were not there. And then they brought me your wings. So in his mind, it was like, yo, if they cut off the wings, she got to be gone.
Yeah, she's dead.
Yeah. So, and then he went back to the house that they had shared that night when they ran off. The house was burned down, and that's where they found the wings. So he was like, then there was a body there, but it was the friend's body that was there.
The guard?
So, no, remember she went with her human friend?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was the human, and then they found the wings, and he was like, oh my God, she's dead. So he was like, I tried to escape with her, and I ended up killing her. So that, he lost his mate, and then he just felt guilt, like, damn, I'm the reason she's dead. Like, so he just went down the spiral and started taking drugs. That was his thing. Okay. So they would always interact, basically. They're in there. No one, the brother is a dick. Who is the king? Mm-hmm. He's very much into, we need to expand. We need to be everywhere, sit on every throne in the kingdom. Because there's 4 brothers. Yeah, there's 4 brothers, including the king. And his whole thing is there are 5 realms. He wants every one of them to sit on every throne. And then his thing is he's trying to marry them off. So even if it's a different court, if they can kill the wife, he then becomes the king. Because remember, if you're a different court, you would just be a king consort. You wouldn't be the king. But if you kill the queen, you're now the king. That man is devious. Devious, I tell you. Come to find out, this whole time, he was telling his guard, he called his guard, I want to say, we're going to go with Jack Barlow. Jack Barlow is from 4th Wing, okay? I just can't remember the guard's name right now. But he would always call him by his last name. So he would be like, Barlow, you're a good man. Barlow, you're this. Barlow, you're that. And he was like, yo, I'm about to run away. He was like, I got you. He was like, Alette's here. And he was like, I told you she's not here. You know, this is towards the end. I'm skipping out the middle of it because we want to get to the end. he was like, I told you that. He was like, you said it the night when you got kicked out of the pub and you were like, hey, I saw Alette. And I was like, no, there's no way. Now he's saying there's no way because he told her that she's dead, but he knows that her wings are cut off. Barlow is the guard. He has been lying this whole time.
Talk about like,
yeah.
I'm going to try not to put spoilers. No, y'all.
Yeah. Barlow is the guard. He took her on the wrong night every year for the last 4 years because he loved her. The day he met her, he was in love. He was infatuated with Alette. He wanted her. The king was like, hey, I already know what he's planning to do. Go watch him. But when he met her, his trajectory changed. He knew he had to take the prince back, but he also knew he wanted Alette. So he has been living in a human realm this whole time with her, and then he'd be like, oh, I gotta go take a prisoner XYZ. That's when he had to leave to go to watch the prince. The king was in on it. The king knew. There is no one time a year that the veil is thin. You can go at any given time. They just told the population that it's thin one time a year. Girl. So at the end, they're trying to escape. They found out Barlow is a piece of shit. They're trying to escape again. He still has his wings. He goes.
Chop him off!
And then that's that. I'm going to end it there. The ending, when I tell you I cried, Liz, when I tell you I boo-hoo bawled, because the king knew he was going to escape with Alette. So he met him at the Little Vale. And that's how the book ends. Well, it doesn't end there. There's more. But when I tell you they just want to be together, let them people be together. I've never screamed for people to be together in my life. I'm like, please let them be together.
That book sounds so good, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Loved it. 5 stars.
Holy crap. That sounded amazing.
Yeah. Bound by Gravity. It's on Kindle Unlimited.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Bound by Gravity. By Jenny Hickman.
See, this is why I think you would like the psychological thrillers. I like that. Is kind of like that.
Yeah. And you know what this book reminds me of? I don't know if maybe it's because they have the Irish Gaelic thing in there, but it reminds me a lot of Binding 13, but aged up. But the trauma they go through in Binding 13 is a lot of that. Like they have the drugs in there. They have people can't be together. They're trying to separate them. It's very much like Binding 13 and Keeping 13. Like,
okay,
just
maybe I'll read that. It's on Audible Plus. All of them.
5 stars, Liz. I'm telling you, this took Lessons from a Hidden Treasure spot for me.
Yeah,
that should let you know. Because I've been writing Lessons from a Hidden Treasure for I don't know how long. This took the spot for me.
Wow. Okay, I'm definitely that's on my TBR now.
All right, Liz. What about your book?
Okay. So my book, my favorite book from August is Stranger in the Woods by Anni Taylor. This book, I didn't figure it out. I had ideas, but I didn't figure it out. So it follows this photographer. Her name is Isla, and she's Australian. And we find out that she suffers from epilepsy. So 2 years ago, from the beginning of 2 years ago, she suffered an episode that like gave her amnesia. Like she doesn't remember. There's so much blacked out. Like it's all this stuff. Yeah. So she's there. She's still trying to like piece her life back together. You know, she's like, okay. And it starts off with her doing a photo shoot for an American family in Australia. And she's standing over water trying to take a shot. And she has a seizure, falls into the water, and she almost dies. From there, she's like, you know what? Well, she almost dies because the camera holds her down. when they were trying to save her. It was hard. Yeah, because they weigh when they have those big lenses
Yeah.
on and all that. So after that whole episode, she's at home. She's like, you know what? I got to do something. I got to get a fresh start. You know, I'm in this funk. I got to do something. So it's her mom, and her brother. Her dad, if I remember correctly, because there were two books that it was similar when it came to the parents. So if I remember correctly, her dad killed himself. So yes, he killed himself, and so she has that trauma as well. Well, when she's at home, she's online, she's going through stuff. She sees an ad for this property out in Scotland, who they're looking for someone to come and do a portfolio for the property, capture its, you know, do family portraits and all that stuff, the property, everything. So she starts doing some research on the property, and she realizes that she sees that the property is owned by the McGregors. It's Albin and Jessica McGregor. From there, she starts going more into it and sees that they used to have a little girl named Elodie who was found in the playhouse on the property, unconscious. The little girl from there went into a coma, spent some time in a coma, and then passed away. So then the book cuts into Elodie's perspective. And she's just, the child that passed away. So it goes back 2 years. It's December, 2 years from that date, from where she's, you know, present day. And she's like, oh, my mom went out to the market to get potatoes for dinner. I'm just playing. She's like running through the woods. And then she's like, oh, someone's coming after me. And she starts running, and then it stops. So throughout the book, I'm just going to cover her portion. So throughout the book, it goes back into Elodie's perspective. Basically, what happens to Elodie is that she's running through the woods. Someone's chasing her. And then when she gets to the playhouse, he reaches the playhouse as well. And she sees who it is, and she's like, oh, I've known you my whole life, blah, 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 blah. And he gives her, so he's like, here, take these. And she takes them, and they're sleeping pills. And it knocks her out, and that's what causes her to go into a coma and pass away. Throughout the book, you get, in her perspective, it also does flashes from when she's in a coma and in the hospital, and you hear, you know, the conversations going on around her. She hears it. She talks about it and all of that stuff. During the time, Elodie's mom is pregnant with a baby, and she ends up having the baby while Elodie's in the hospital. She actually ended up giving birth the same day that happened to Elodie. Like there was some type of accident that caused her to go into labor early. So, and she ends up naming the baby Rhiannon. So then we go back to Isla. Now, so Isla sends out for the gig. They're like, they respond, okay, send us your portfolio. Let us see what you do. She sends it back. And it's the estate manager who's handling it. And her name is Greer. So then Greer sees her portfolio, and she's like, whoa, we definitely want you. We cover all of this stuff. You would be staying here on the property in a cottage, all that. So she tells her mom, and her mom's like, no, I don't think you should do that. You know, I think that's not good for you right now. And she's like, well, I'm going to do it. So she does it. She goes out there. She gets picked up by Greer. They go to the property. It's gorgeous. You know, from there, Greer kind of mentions what happened to Elodie and all that stuff. But her and Greer become good friends. So at this property, it's like this little town, and there's 5 main families. I don't remember all their names. So we're going to do the McGregors, which is the main family. That's our family, the one that we know. Then there's another family, 4 other families. All the kids. Yeah, A, B, C, D. All the families grew up together. The kids, but there's like some families don't get along, you know, all that crap. Not important. So from there, Isla starts taking a look at the property, and then she meets Albin. Albin, when he sees her, he's kind of like, oh, okay, I guess he didn't expect someone like her. And it's when she meets the wife that she's like, the wife's dressed exactly the same as the daughter. And she was kind of like, who's this chick in my house? And then Greer
Yeah.
explains, oh, da 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 da, and everything's fine. But she's kind of like, I don't know, already suspecting the father for the murder. Because
Mm-hmm.
remember, she knows that the little girl was killed. So she was like, I think the dad did it, because the way it lined up is he came home in time for it to be him. From the research that Isla did, yeah, he came home with enough time to be the one to do that. So during this time, she's taking a look at stuff. She noticed she's at her cottage the first night. Somebody was in her cottage and took her passport out of her bag. So she's like, this is weird. She goes to sleep.
Yeah.
She hears somebody outside of her window. She's like, what the heck? When she does some research, she sees that it's Albin, the father. Then the next day, she goes on, Greer takes her into town, or takes her to another town to show her some stuff. On the way back to the property, they pass this church, and she's like, what is that? And Greer's like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, I just saw a little church back there. I think it would be good to get some pictures and all that. She's like, what church are you talking about? So Greer reverses, sees the church. She's like, oh, that's this, da 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 da. And she's like, okay. So they go back to the property. Here she meets some other people from the surrounding families. Then they all go out to a pub, and she meets this guy, Troy. Troy starts talking to her at the pub, and he goes to kiss her because they're conversating. Not about that, but he still makes his move. And she's like, hold up, don't do that. And he was like, oh, this is what you do? You mess around with people and then you forget who they are? And she's like, wait, what? And then one of the other
that's
friends,
right. Okay.
Yeah, because
I got you. I'm following.
But she's like, I've never been to Scotland before. You have me confused for somebody else. And he was like, oh, he's drunk. So she's with the other people. A brother and a sister are there, and they remember their name, but they have a brother named Peyton. And it's with a D. The brother's name is with a D. Anyway, he's like, oh, Peyton's a dick, blah, blah, blah. Just ignore him. We'll take you home or whatever. So she goes home. She realizes her epilepsy medicine is missing when she gets home. Okay.
So they took her passport and her epilepsy medicine.
Her passport was there. They just took it out of her bag and looked at it or something. She's like, she was confused as to why that was like that. Yeah. Then her epilepsy medicine comes out missing. She's like, okay, I'll make an appointment at a doctor here. I'll get my medicine. Not a big deal. She goes to go to sleep. Then she gets woken up by somebody yelling her name throughout the woods. And she's like, what is going on? So she goes out there and she realizes it's that guy, Troy, that says he knows her. So she's out there and she's like looking for him. And then somebody comes up behind her and she turns around, goes, Troy, and realizes it's Albin. Then they keep going and they run into a scarecrow in the trees.
They don't know.
Now, this is the thing, because one of the neighbors, one of the little girls, was scared of scarecrows. Like it's something that's used with pranks within this little, So anyways, at this moment, Jessica comes out, which is Albin's wife. And she sees that, and the little girl comes out. She's like, oh my God, I gotta see, she can't see this. I gotta take her inside. This is so upsetting. And she's thinking that Isla did it. She's like, Isla's like, you think I did this? Like, da 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 da. And they're trying to figure it out. Right? So then from there, she also meets the little girl Elodie's teacher. He shows up at the house while she's there taking pictures. This is the teacher. And he's like, oh, I'm just here to do, wanted to see if I could talk to Albin. And she's like, he's not here, but I can give you some. She leaves the door. When she leaves the door, this man runs up to the little girl's room, Elodie's room, and starts going through her pictures, her pictures that she drew. Yeah. And then she's like, are you supposed to be in here? because she knows that this is one of the people that they don't get along with. And she's like, are you supposed to be here? She's like, no, I was just looking at her artwork or whatever. This raises a red flag for her. She's like, okay, her teacher, he could be the one that killed the little girl.
Yeah.
So are you still with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Because when you say he ran upstairs, I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah, the teacher just went into her room going through.
Yeah.
So she leaves and she's like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to cause any problems. He didn't really do anything, but I am going to remember this. So from there, she sees certain things that just don't add up for her about the dad. Like she just has her suspicions about him. And then she also sees that the mom is kind of weird, how she is with the daughter. Yeah. For me, at this point, I'm just like, she's probably just overprotective because she lost her daughter. And the baby was a preemie, all this stuff. So yeah. She's just like, that's just weird how she is. She's a helicopter mom. Nothing, Mm-hmm. So Albin's like, I need somebody to answer this call. I'm waiting for an important call. I'm going to go find out what's going on. When he comes back from going out into the woods to look for that Troy guy, he comes back and he's like, we need to call the cops. There's somebody who OD'd in the playhouse. So she's like, oh my God, could it be Troy? So then the wife goes to help him because she's a nurse. The wife goes to help him and he's like, I'm expecting an important call. Just take the calls that come in. Now, he has an office that he doesn't like people in. While she's there, the phone rings in the office. She's like, I don't know if I should get it. But she's like, well, he did tell me to answer the calls. So she goes and answers the call. While she's there, she sees an overview of the property and sees the playhouse. And then she sees like a route, like somebody drew a route from the playhouse, like if they went to the playhouse and when they left. And she realized that that's the route the killer took. And she's like, why does he have that up on his wall? And she realized that it was that because they just played, this was around the anniversary, and they just played like a video of the property and all that on the news, and she saw it. So she was like, holy shit, he has the route that the killer took on his wall. Why? So another red flag for her.
Or he's trying to figure it out.
So then from there, she's like, you know what? I'm going to go talk to this teacher. Something's not adding up, right? I think the dad, what if he was going through that stuff to look for evidence that the dad did it? I'm going to go talk to him. So she goes and talks to him. He's kind of like, at first. He's actually married to this lady, Camille, who is one of the neighboring family, is part of one of the neighboring families. And she has a daughter named Scarlett. So he tells her his thing. He's like, no, it's just that she would always draw pictures like everybody's happy but her, or she's not even in the picture. She just drew pictures that in his opinion were not what a child, it's not, there's something going on at home. So he was like, it was just weird. And she explained like, Albin doesn't like me because I kind of raised suspicions about him being, the one that was responsible. It was not my intention to make it like that. It's just certain things added up. So they become buddy. She ends up telling him, hey, I want to go to this church because this is when we find out for like 2 years, she's had this weird ass dream where she's like in this church kind of thing. And there's like a rosary and a cross with a flower. And she hears, that somebody was there, and she's like, I don't know. And he's like, okay, we could do that or whatever. And he tells her that Elodie used to just say certain things like, to be loved, you have to be respected, and respect brings love and all. He's like, it just didn't add up for me. So they bond. Huh?
The child?
The child was saying that. And during this time, it goes to a flashback of Elodie, and she says, he's always told me that love, that respect brings love. And so she's basically being groomed. In her flashbacks, you see that somebody's grooming her. or you read that somebody's grooming her. So the teacher's like, yeah, we could go to the church or whatever, blah, blah, blah. From there, later on, there's a scene where remember I told you the brother and the sister?
Right.
The sister and her friend go to get her, and they're like, hey, we want to hang out, blah, blah, blah. Listen, you remember that guy Troy? She's like, yeah, he thinks he knows me, but he doesn't. She's like, well, he's in the hospital and he's asking for you. And she's like, I don't know if I want to go. And they're like, oh, well, you know what does it hurt? Just go see him or whatever. So she goes to the hospital, she sees him. And he's like, hey, I wanted to apologize for trying to kiss you like that, but I'm telling you the truth. I know you. Like, we've met, we dated, we hung out together, we had a great time, and then you just disappeared. And she's like, wait, what? She's like, no, I've
That's
never
like more than one encounter.
Yes, she's like, I've never been to Scotland before. Now, rewind, when he first said he knew her, she had called her mom. And her mom was like, no, don't talk to him. He's bad news. Don't worry about that. Just forget about all of that. You should just come home. You
So
shouldn't
the mom
even
is hiding
be there.
stuff too.
Yes. You should just come home. So now we're back in the hospital. And he's like, look, and he pulls up a picture of them.
Wait.
Yes.
Wait.
What?
Is she Elodie?
No.
Oh, damn.
But
I
you
thought
see
I
how
figured it
these
out.
books get you, right? You see how these books get you. No, Elodie did pass away. And she was a lot younger. She was only 12 years old, if I remember. Yeah, she was little. So she's like, what? I need to talk to my mom. This is crazy. What is going on? I can't remember any of this stuff. Like, so she leaves the hospital and she calls her mom and she's like, honey, he's a bad guy. The way that he left you, I had to go pick you up. You were destroyed because for months afterwards, even in Australia, she was kind of out of it. Like, she was, disassociated. So they basically had to put her together. Then she talks to the brother because she couldn't get a hold of the mom this time around to ask her about Troy. And the brother is the one that goes into detail and lets her know, like, no, that guy effed you up. He left you there. He, like, they painted a really bad picture of him. So she's like, what is going on? Now it's time for the teacher to take her to the church. Now, throughout this time, she takes pictures of the property. I just don't, she walked in the woods, took some pictures. It's great. So now it's time for her and the teacher to go to church. When they go to the church, things click she walks into this room and she realizes that it wasn't like the church that she was thinking. It wasn't rosary beads. It was the beads from a fan. She sees a bottle of pills. She sees a mattress with blood all over it. Then she gets a flashback of a man carrying her out of the building, and she saw that he had a tattoo of a cross with a rose under his neck. So she was like, oh my God. And then she's like, oh my God, what the heck? So she goes to tell the guy, his name is Rory. She goes to tell the teacher, like, hey, Rory, I just realized, and he's outside digging holes. She's like, what are you doing? He was like, oh, I was just trying to see if I find anything out here. She's like, that's weird. And then when he like shifts, his shirt moves and she sees the tattoo.
Liz, what the hell?
So then she's like, hold up, that's scary. So she's like, okay, I'll be right back, and then leaves. Just starts walking.
As you should. Good job.
Gets a ride from some random person on the road and goes to the police station. When she gets to the police station, the guy that's there is a son from one of the family members that's in that area. So she's like, she tells him, look, I have a major time that I have blacked out that I don't remember. And I know that something bad happened to me in this building, and I know that Rory's the one that did it because I've been having dreams and everything's coming back, and I just remembered the tattoo, so I know he's the one that did it. He was like, are you sure? Are you okay? All right, let's figure this out. Let me take you home. So he takes her to Albin's house. And while she, like, at this point, she remembers hearing a woman's voice while she was in the church telling her, stop screaming, you're only making it hard for yourself, something along those lines. And she was like, so they get back to the house. When they get to the house, there's a snowstorm. They're all locked in the house, or it's starting to snow really bad. And she realizes that, no, not yet. Wait, so they get there and she runs off because she goes into the office and sees that there's a picture with all the boys in the areas and they all have the tattoo.
What? Was she gang raped?
So she's like, hold up, something's crazy. Her and Albin have a moment because they're starting to feel attraction to each other. And he's like, you just don't run away from me again. And she's like, wait, hold up. This is all during this time. She's like, wait, hold up. What does he mean by that? Because something happens, there's a disturbance, and they end up leaving. I don't remember what the disturbance was. Oh, Scarlett, because remember I told you the teacher has a stepdaughter, Scarlett?
Yeah.
Okay, so Isla and Scarlett get as close as you could get with a teenager you don't really know. But Scarlett has some kind of trust in her and shows her some things and it lets her know that there's more going on than what she knows. Like, Scarlett has her own secrets. She ran away from home and is now living with her aunt, and she only came back to this town to see her grandparents. That's how she tells the story. So at this time, Scarlett and her are running from. Okay. She tells Scarlett what happened. Scarlett's like, oh my God, look at this is what was said. You find out at this point that Scarlett was also groomed when she was younger. They found in her ballet studio, because Scarlett tells her all of this, in her ballet studio, they found some holes in the locker room. And in the locker room, behind the wall, they found pictures of the little girls. So obviously there's a pedophile out here. This whole time,
are the families grooming their sons to be pedos, or
this whole time they're like, there's no way it was somebody in town who did this. They think it's somebody from the outside. Yeah. So Scarlett's telling her all of this, and she's like, whoa, this is weird, blah, blah, blah. So we're back at the house. It's snowing. They find out that Scarlett ran away. Or ran from there. They're like, it's snowing out there. We need to find her. They all go find her. When they're out there, Peyton's there, and he's like frantically looking for her. This is where we find out Peyton and Alvin don't get along for some reason. They have a scuffle, whatever. The girl, Scarlett and Isla, hide in the church because it's not far from the property. They hide in the church. Yeah. Yes. And this is when Peyton comes into the church looking for them. And this is when she hears, remember I told you she heard the girl's voice? This is when the flashback comes out about the girl's voice. So then from there, they're hiding. Peyton admits to being the one who took Isla out of the church. And he admitted that that was her blood all over the bed and all that stuff. But he also lets her know, you think that it's just me? So then they get away and they go back to the house. The cop shows up and he, because they're all looking for them. They all go back to the house. Mm-hmm. They have Peyton in the kitchen, handcuffed. Okay. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. Am I butchering this? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out who did it.
So they have Peyton handcuffed in the kitchen. The cop is there. I believe if I remember, his name is Rick, maybe. Anyways, he's standing there with
the cop have a tattoo too?
Yes. They all have it. So he's in the kitchen with him.
Wait,
she got
is this
injured.
A secret society?
She got injured, right? So Albin, while they were out there, Albin put some pipe moss on it, if I remember that's correct, or whatever. He put some shit on it, stopped the bleeding, made it, whatever. So they get back. They're at the house. You can tell that she's getting an infection. Jessica's a nurse. Jessica comes down and starts doing everything, like taking care of everything. And this is when they start talking about what happened with Peyton. She's like, Peyton admitted that he's the one. And then Scarlett admits what Peyton did. She's like, he was the one grooming me. And then we go into a flashback of Elodie. So all that stuff is coming out in present day. It's all coming out. Peyton groomed Scarlett. He was ready. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Because we're not done with the bombs. Oh, you thought the bombs stopped? No, they're just starting. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Then we go into Elodie's flashback. Peyton is the one that gave her the sleeping pills. Because Elodie was flicking through the woods and saw what he was doing to Scarlett one day in the playhouse. And he saw her. So he gave her the sleeping pills. So then we're there. And when at this point, everybody's dirt's coming out. The whole thing starts. Yeah. And then Rory, the teacher, is also there. And he was like, oh my God. And we find out that his wife, Camille, was cheating on him with Peyton. Then Camille's like, oh, you want to put everybody's dirt out? Well, what about you, Jessica? Then they find out that Jessica, the wife, Albin's wife, the mother of the little girl who died.
Yeah, no, what was she doing?
She was also having an affair with Peyton.
Peyton just out here just screwing everybody.
We're not done with the bombs. Are you ready?
Yes.
Guess where Peyton got them sleeping pills from?
Did she get them from Amnesia girl Isla?
Worse.
The mother.
The mother. The mom didn't know. The mom had no idea that this man did this to Elodie. No idea. So then her dirt comes out that she was cheating on Albin with Peyton and all that. Camille's dirt comes out that she's a piano instructor and Peyton would go over there and some of her students started feeling uncomfortable because he tried grooming them. Jessica, nobody's paying attention to Jessica. She cleans up all her little, because she was going to, that's how they found out about the sleeping pills. She was going to give Isla the sleeping pills because Isla was telling everybody about what happened with Peyton. And then they're like, wait, what are those pills? And then that's when they found out those are the same pills. Scarlett's like, those are the same pills Peyton used to give me when he would do what he did to me. And then they're like, wait, those are the same pills that they gave Elodie that killed Elodie. So while they're all going back and forth about all this, Jessica's putting all her stuff away, slips her little scissors into her pocket, goes into the kitchen and stabs Peyton in the artery.
Mm-hmm.
Kills him. Kills him. We're not done yet. Are you ready?
Yeah, because I'm about to ask about Troy.
Yeah, so we find out about Troy in a little bit. So then after that, of course, there's a court case because now they're like, hold up, we got to charge her for murder. We got to charge her for giving out pills. Now this other lady, Camille,
and
they're doing an investigation on her because how are you going to have this guy, like, and these your students are saying they make him feel uncomfortable and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Scarlett ends up leaving and going to live with her stepdad, the teacher, who she didn't get along with at first because she's a teenager and he was, but she realized that's the only guy who has my back. So, you know, Isla goes back to Australia, but she has to come back to Scotland for the trial. While she's in Australia, she's like, putting everything together. Greer, who is one of her best friends, and the other girl, who's the sister to Peyton, show up in Australia. We're like, we know you have the trial coming. We came to show you support. Because what I did forget to say is Peyton's father was all up in there when that happened. And he's a dick. Just want to say it. They knew. They covered it up all the time. Anytime he did something, not that they knew he killed Elodie, they had an idea that it was her. He's the one that put the scarecrow up. So listen, it gets even better. It gets even better.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So then Greer and I think her name is Allison. We'll call her Allison. Greer and Allison go to Australia to show her some support and bring her to Scotland for the trial. So Greer, Allison, Isla, and the mom. Oh, I'm sorry, am I boring you, Collette? Just joking. So they all go to Scotland for the trial. While they're there, they start looking into people that Isla knew before her amnesia. They find out that she had a roommate. So they meet up with the roommate, and the roommate's like, yeah, we were good friends. I found it so weird. You just disappeared. We had no idea what happened to you. You just disappeared. And then she asks her about Troy. And she's like, oh, yeah, Troy. He was the reason a lot of shit happened. They did date. They had fun. Her and the roommate threw a party at their house. Troy invited his friends. They trashed the place. They did a whole bunch of damages. Then he just leaves. Left them with the bill. He said he was going to pay all that stuff. Left them with the bill. Caused them to almost get evicted. A whole bunch of debt and all this stuff. So then she's like, then after that, you found the money somehow and we were safe, but then you disappeared. So she's like, oh my God, what happened? So then we go to the trial. So when we're at the trial, Jessica takes the stand. Well, Camille takes the stand and she tells us what we already know, that she was having an affair with Peyton. They kind of like, well, you're in trouble because you put your students in danger, blah, blah, blah. So let's go to Jessica. So Jessica takes a stand and she gives this story that, yes, she was having an affair with Peyton, but that's nothing. Peyton calls her one day. This is how she met Isla. Peyton calls her one day and is like, hey, I have a girl here. She overdosed. I need help, blah, 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 blah. So they go to the church. And she helps him with the girl because they got into an accident or something like. She helps him with the girl. Yeah. And then he takes the girl and leaves. And she goes home and gets into a car accident and has the baby. Right? And here we go. Then the truth comes out.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know if I should say it or if I should just then we find out what really happened. And that's where I'm going to leave it. 4.5 stars, y'all. No,
you mean what really happened? What do you mean what really happened?
Ready? Jessica takes the stand. Jessica takes the stand. We're going to end the book right now. Jessica takes the stand. And she says, here's what happened. Me and my husband were having problems. We've been trying to have another baby for years and years and years and years and years. And I couldn't do it. We were having problems. And I thought having a baby would fix this. So I had a brilliant idea to get a surrogate. So she's like, I put an ad up at the college looking for a surrogate. And that's where I met Isla. She's like, that's where I met Isla. So then we set it up. I told her that I was going to have a go on a getaway with my husband for 2 weeks. I got her a hotel room across the street from my hotel. And anytime that me and my husband did the thing, I knew that the sperm would stay fertile for 30 minutes. So I would put it in a syringe and I would go take it to her hotel room and drop it off in front of the door. Isla never saw her because they made it that way, that they would never meet. They would never see each other, nothing. She didn't even know Jessica and Album's real name. So she's like, she signed up to be a surrogate. I told her that she would have to transfer because she was out there doing school. She's like, I told her that she would have to move into this other town so that way her friends wouldn't see her. I would take care of all of that. So that's what she did. So Isla goes and moves into this apartment that Jessica's paying for, doing all this stuff. Jessica then wore fake bellies throughout the time. After a while, she gets a message from Isla saying, hey, look, I've been here by myself and I'm just letting you know I've grown attached to the baby. I'm going to keep the baby. I'm going to move to Australia. You're never going to see me again. You don't have to worry about that. I'll figure out a way to get you the money back. It's not a big deal. I'm so sorry. I just can't do this anymore.
Wow.
So then she's like, no, please don't do it. She's like, I'm sorry. It's final. I'm about to go drop off some stuff at my friend's house in this city. And then I'm going to the airport and going back to Australia. So then Jessica tells the court, hey, at this point, I knew where she was going and I knew the only way to get there was off of this road. So I went to Liz. She wouldn't answer any of my calls. She couldn't do this. I was so excited for this baby. This was my baby. This is my baby. So she's going down the road and she sees Isla. She flashes her lights to get it to the attention. Isla loses control of the car and crashes. At this point, she takes Isla into the church and puts her on the bed and has to deliver the baby because of the trauma. She calls Peyton to help her. Peyton comes and she's like, look, she's a drug addict. Like Peyton knew that she took the baby out and all of that. She's like, she's a drug addict. Just take her to this apartment, or take her to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. I have to get back because I told Elodie that I was going to the store to get stuff for dinner. You should come over for dinner. At this point, she gave him what he wanted. He goes and he drops Isla off at the apartment and goes back, and that's when he does what he does to Elodie. Meanwhile, Jessica takes the baby and goes to the hospital that she works at. Remember I said she was a nurse?
Yeah.
During this time, while she's there, there's like a big rush and all that stuff. And then everything happened with Elodie. So that's going on. She brought the baby because she worked there. She was able to push off an exam on herself. Just to make sure that the baby was okay because she was preemie. Then everything happened with Elodie. She was able to do she's like, oh no, I did it myself. Everything looks good, blah, blah, blah.
Lady, you are diabolical. Isla had a whole baby.
Rhiannon, the little girl, was Albin and Isla's baby. And the thing is, during one of the scenes, Isla kind of connected with the little girl, and Jessica had to go do something. She's like, oh, I'll watch her for you. And Jessica's like, no, that's okay. Like, off rip was like, no. Like, that was weird to be asked.
Did she get her baby?
Yeah. They did have to go to trial to see who gets custody. They gave Albin custody, but he basically left it up to her because he's like, I know, you know what I mean? So whatever you decide. Yeah. And months go by and then he reaches out to her and he's like, I didn't want to put pressure on you, but she's like, no, I want to meet her. And then, the end of the book, they end up getting together. Because I forgot to tell you, there was always an attraction. Because when he went to go on that 2-week getaway with Jessica, he got there early, so he went to the club. Well, guess who was at the club?
Isla.
And they met, and they had attraction. And then Isla gets a call from Jessica spazzing out, telling her to get in the hotel room and not to be talking to people because she didn't want anybody to see her. But meanwhile, Jessica saw Albin and Isla together.
Jessica, girl. Special place in hell. What's this book called?
Stranger in the Woods. It's on Audible Plus. Free book if you have a membership. You don't need a credit to read it.
Now I gotta go get it. Thank you so much, Liz.
You're welcome.
Stranger in the Woods. Because Liz doesn't care about me. I have to get it.
Okay, first of all, we both added a book to our TBR today, so don't do that.
Ann Taylor. Annie Taylor.
Yep.
But thank you, Liz.
You're welcome. Now you see why I like those books. They just.
Oh my God. Jessica.
Yeah, girl.
Jessica's Littlefinger.
Ugh, that motherfucker.
But I'm just saying, in the story of Game of Thrones, Littlefinger is the one that really sets off. That's Jessica.
And she had so much guilt because then she realized it was her pills. It was because she called him to help and told him that Elodie was home by herself.
Yeah.
Had a whole affair with this idiot. Ruined because Albin ended up being like a really good guy. He was just a workaholic.
Aww.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really good. I have to listen to that. How was the narration?
And they do the accents really well because she's Australian and then they have the Scottish accents. I liked it. I really, and the narrator was amazing.
Okay. I gotta get that. I mean, I got it. I need to just download it. So, I'll probably start that while I clean my room. Okay. Yeah. Well, those were our top 2 books, or our top books of August. I feel like yours blew mine out the water. Now I have to go.
No, I think they were both great books. No, I'm definitely We did good. We did good in August. God. We did good in August.
Yeah.
August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why was it 4.5 and not 5?
I just felt like in the audiobook for me, there were some parts where it dragged, but it made sense. You know, like, not that it dragged. It was just like, did we really need that? Okay. But it didn't flow badly either. You know how some of them you're like, okay, that really didn't need to be in there. This was like, we didn't really need that, but it wasn't bad in there. That's what made it 4.5.
All right. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Our top reads of August. If you are going to read those, let us know. Again, Liz's book is available on Kindle, on Audible Plus. Mine is available on Kindle Unlimited. We will have them linked below as well. But yeah, I have to go read that.
So good.
So go ahead. Thank you again, you guys, for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And we will see y'all next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.